Assigning work. Part 1. Every student and teacher at my school knows that I like singing as I have taken part in lots of concerts. I have sung many songs in English, Russian, and even Bulgarian language, but sometimes I was not alone. Now I want to tell you about the rehearsals with my friends from different grades. I remember the first experience of being a singing teacher very well. I was in the 10th grade then, and my students were in the 6th. The principal of our school decided to give a concert in November, and the rehearsals had to start in September. Students of the high school had to help little children from the 5th till the 7th grades. I was given two grades to teach, the 6th A and the 5th B. I had a wonderful time with them. A good friend of mine, Nastya, was studying in the 6th A grade, and some of my students were the students of School of Music at the same time, so we hadn't any difficulties first. All of my friends wanted to be the best, so I didn't need to make them learn the songs. I used to stay and work with them after the lessons, and we used to meet each other at my place with Nastya to practice more. But one day a big trouble happened. There was a usual morning. I knew that I'd stay at school and work with my students after the lessons, so on seeing the principal near the door, I couldn't even imagine that it would be the hardest day in my practice. I greeted the woman and wanted to go, but she stopped me and told that she had something to discuss. I was really surprised at first. "You'll have to refuse the 6th A grade," she declared. I was shocked, so couldn't even ask her why. But the principal continued herself. "You see, we have one more grade to take part in the concert, but there are some problematic students there, so nobody wants to deal with them. It's the 5th A grade. I know you have many friends there, so I think you're the only person to work with them. But you can't work with three grades at the same time, so you'll have to leave the 6th A." She was speaking, speaking, and speaking, and I couldn't say a word. Mentally, I was somewhere, but not at school. I wanted her words to be only a nightmare, but they were not. "Now I'll make papers for you to sign, and you'll be invited to my study after the third lesson. And now, go," said the principal and went away. I was standing and couldn't take a step. Can't remember the moment I came to the classroom, and you'll hear nothing asking me about the first lesson. The bell rang. I went out and started walking outside. I was disappointed as I could do nothing. I saw my friend Nastya. She asked me what had happened, and I confessed everything to her. But I asked the girl not to spread the news among her classmates. The third lesson ended, but the principal didn't come. I was told to visit her myself. I couldn't wait, but I came to my friends from the 6th A grade for the last time, as I thought. I didn't know how to tell my dear students that sad news, but I had to, so I finally gathered my strength only by the end of the lesson. They thought I was joking at first, but I had to disappoint them because it was a real problem to solve. After the lessons were over, I went to the headmaster's lair. I was already awaited there. "Come in and sit down, please," said the woman. "Here are the papers for you to sign. Here is stated that you're not going to train the 6th A grade because of the circumstances," said she. Fucking circumstances, I thought. I didn't want to sign the papers anyway, but I was even more shocked when I learned who was going to work with my students instead of me. It was going to be my classmate, Vadim. He was an obnoxious person. Once I felt ill, so I had to stay home not to infect children at school. Vadim came to my friends instead of me, but the time spent with him couldn't be called a lesson. A new teacher wanted the students to be afraid of him, so he started swearing and throwing their things down from the desks. In conclusion, he achieved his goal. The children were afraid to come to their classroom if the real teacher wasn't there. And how could I let him take my students forever after that? I tried to explain to the principal that I had promised to support my friends and help them, and my word wouldn't cost a coin if I betrayed them. I asked her not to interfere me with my lessons, but the woman wanted to hear nothing. She told me that I had no choice but to sign the papers. She advised me not even to try resisting. "I selected you as a teacher for the 5th A grade, and it means that you will deal with them," said the principal. She asked me to get rid of all the feelings and emotions. "You can't always control your life," she said. After that verbal sparring, I decided to fight for my students, but I didn't know how yet. Suddenly, a great idea came to my mind. "Okay," I said, "you are a principal, so your decision is a law. Give me your papers and I'll sign them, though I don't want to." "Finally," said the principal, giving me some papers. I took them and signed. "Good. Now I only must put a stamp here. It's going to be brought here to school for one day tomorrow. Now you are free." And so I left the headmaster's study. After that talk, I knew exactly that the principal was mistaken. I was able to solve serious problems myself. And while I was at the headmaster's study, Nastya, knowing about the situation, left everything she was doing and ran downstairs. She wanted to know how the problem would be solved very much. But when the girl was already downstairs, she saw my mother there. On seeing Nastya, mother went to meet her. "Why are you so excited?" my mother asked. I don't know which the conclusion of the conflict will be, the girl answered. Sasha will sign everything he's forced, my mother suggested with confidence in her voice. Don't say so, Nastya shouted. Why not? My mother interrupted in surprise. She is a principal, a master of this school. Her word is a law, and Sasha must obey her without reply. That's fine. Please, Nastya, you are adult enough to understand. He will sign the papers and leave you. The principal can and may make him, and believe me, she'll do it. But Sasha promised never to leave us, Nastya shouted with tears in her eyes. He should have thought carefully before making you such a promise, my mother said. Maybe he forgot that nothing depended on him there at school. No, no, Nastya burst into tears. At that moment I left the headmaster's study. Nastya rushed up to me at once and asked which the conclusion of the conversation was. I signed the papers as I had no choice, I answered. As I have told you, my mother said. Nastya started crying again. At that moment, my mother's phone rang. Her friend, the mother of my classmate, wanted to talk. Mother asked me to wait for her a little and left the school. I wanted to calm Nastya down, but when mother went away, I saw that the girl was away too. She was crying in the ladies' room. I didn't want to go there, so I told Nastya that I had something important to gossip about. When Nastya went out, I asked her to go upstairs for nobody to hear us, and as soon as we were alone, I shared my plan with the girl. Here it is. Our school entered a competition to be the best in town, and took the second place. After that, our principal was proposed to make a lyceum from it, and she managed. But at the lyceum, each paper to be valid must have a special stamp on it. To get a stamp, the principal must call and reserve it for one day, and somebody must sign the paper. So I signed the papers which made me leave the 6th A grade, but I knew that I wouldn't leave them anyway. Why? The principal of our school had never been my teacher, so she could never see my signature in our register book because it was always laying on my form teacher's table in our classroom. So I decided to put a false signature for the papers not to become valid. When I told everything to Nastya, she couldn't believe me at first and thought I wanted to console her. But when she understood that my words were truth, she became incredibly happy. Sobbing, she noticed I was very witty and smiled. The next day I was called to the headmaster's again. I knew what had happened, but my mother was very surprised. When I came to the study, I saw a principal and two men near her. They were holding our register book and the false paper. The signatures were different. The principal asked me what it meant, but I said that it wasn't my signature and that I didn't know who had signed the papers instead of me. The reputation of the lyceum was broken, and I was a person to blame, but I was glad that nobody could have made me leave my dear friends. When my mother asked why I had been summoned to the principal for the second time, I answered nothing. I had to return the books of the 6th A grade, but I didn't. The next day I went to my friends after the lessons were over. Why would you go there if you're not going to train them anymore, are you? My mother asked, but I advised her to talk to the principal herself because I had no time for explanations. When I was near my friend's study, all of my students rushed up to me and surrounded me at once. They wanted to know which the conclusion of my battle with the principal was very much. Are you still going to leave us? One of them asked, and I understood that Nastya had really told them nothing. My dear friends, I answered, how can I leave you? Please try to forget everything. That was just a nightmare, and I told them everything from the very beginning till the end. We were all extremely glad, but not the principal. It was the last week of my trainings with the 6th A grade before the concert, but the most important fact that I got even with the woman. The concert was perfect. My students were excellent and the best. I was immensely proud of them, and everybody got a special reward after the concert.